Okay, so we're fitting the sleeve inside of our jacket. And so of course you want your inside seams to match. So this is simply a side seam that's going on the side here with the bottom of the sleeve seam. We're going to marry those two guys together. So I'm going to put a pin here. Because we definitely want the bottom, the seams, to match each other. Now we're going to ease the sleeve inside of the jacket because we can either, you will have like a little poofiness, whereas you can gather. So what we're going to do is we have that pinned in the center. We have both seams married together, which this is the sleeve open seam and this is the side open seam. So we're just going to sew a little bit until we get probably about somewhat to the top. Then we're going to stop. And then we're going to do a little bit of this other side of it to the top, and then we're going to stop. And then we're going to have to gather and pull this the ease stitches together at the top here to fit it in there. So let me get started on that and put the pins inside of here in my to make my markings, to let me know how far I'm going to sew before I stop. Okay, so we're gonna go about that. That's which connecting our landmarks, which is our triangles, and put a pin here. Okay, and so we're gonna sew going up a few more inches. Let's see, about an inch or so from that landmark point. And then we'll do the gathering. Okay. Now, if you need to take the foot off, take the foot off, which I am, because I need this to fit inside of here. So you simply slide this inside of the armhole. You line up your center seams. I'm going to stay stitch this because it is a center seam up under the armpit. So I'm definitely going to make sure I get that back and forth really good to keep that from opening up on us. And now we're going to simply sew according to our landmarks. We're going to ease this in there. So we're sewing at an angle. Now that we're almost to the top, now we're gonna stop because we got to our, now stop it there, back up, then reinforce that seam, and now start on the other side. We'll have to do it a little bit by little bit until we get that sleeve fit eased in there, and then we're going to have to gather it at the top for the poofiness of the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sewing actually from the top to the bottom. So I'm going to slide it back on the arm Put the threads back. So I'm going to sew from, say, here. Make sure there's no gathering at the bottom, which there isn't. Now I could take that pin out. And stay stitch, back stitch on that. Take it all the way around. Stay stitch up under that armpit. Now bring it out. Take all of our threads, break them all at once, and look at our seam. It's very perfect. You can take your handy dandy scissors without cutting your material and simply cut the threads. I have some little small scissors for that, like precision scissors for that. Okay, so now this is the inside now. Now we're going to ease this top portion in there by gathering it and pinning it to make it work. So let me gather it by hand and pull these strings to make it gather. So you're going to pull one string at a time, okay? And you see how it's going to automatically begin to gather, but you got to take your time with it, otherwise you will pull your threads too hard, and then once you break your threads, then you're kind of screwed up. So you don't want to do that. So you want to gather it by hand, then fit it inside of there for sewing. So let me get that going and get it sewn in, and I'll be right back in a moment. Now you see how I got that going? So now it's like a perfect stitch. I don't know if you guys can really see that vision, but it's actually, I gathered that perfectly. So now I simply have to take that like a half moon around, because this part here, if you notice, is already stitched in. So we're just going to do a half moon to take the top portion in. Back stitch. Okay. Now you gotta really take your time with this, because you don't want it to look crazy. You know what I'm saying? When people are up on you and they're looking at your garment, looking at your little laundry piece that you threw together, you don't want them seeing profound imperfections. That is just beautiful. Oh, that is just perfect. That is simply perfect. That fit in there like a glove. I did that, Karen. So now we could take all of our threads. Now all these threads can be cut, because we no longer need that extra stay stitch. And if you're real cantankerous like me and you don't want that extra thread to show, you could simply pull it out, which we're going to pull it out during our finishings. When I'm finishing the whole thing up, I will pull those extra stay stitches out. The ease stitch for the sleeve. but we want to pull out all these extra little stitches, especially if they show on the other side. You really want to pull them out. Okay, now let me show you what it looks like on the flip side. Okay, yeah, now here's our little our E stitch, and I could pull this out. I no longer need it. Okay, so now let's see what it looks like on the inside. Oh, very pretty. Very nice. I love it. Oh my goodness. Wow. Now that is just perfect. Now you see how you could see a little bit of that E stitch? Well, what you do, this is part of the finishing process, and you just go through and you just take that extra seam out. It doesn't go to anything, so it's not going to resize your garment at all, because that's simply your gathering stitch. It doesn't go to anything, and nor did we back stitch it, so it's just an easy fix to just simply take out. Alrighty, so as you can see, we got one side of it done with the sleeve, the collar, and everything. So let me get done with the other side, and I'll be back. Okay, now we're getting ready to start on the skirt front and skirt back. You know, the flounce part around. So what we're going to do is we're going to take off all of these pins. Okay. Now, this is the back. This one is the front. So let's take these all off. Okay, so what we're going to do is let's take this loose, and oops, I dropped a pin. There we go. I got it. Okay. Okay, so we're going to take the top one off and slide this one away, and then this is going to be connected to this. This. The front is open, so that's the discrepancy. Okay, we don't need that one, but we do need this other one. So this one here is ready to be sewn, so let's hang that over there. And let's get this one together. Okay. And now these pieces go here together because the front is open. So that is the reason why we're only going to do the side seams. We're not doing the front seams. We're just doing the side seams. Okay, so now let's marry these guys together. Make sure the seams are matching perfectly before we begin to start stitching, because otherwise we don't want to make an error and then have to remove those stitches. So let's begin to sew. This one. Okay. And now let's iron out our stitches. So now this is the center back seam. Now, let's open up this seam and press the center back seam. Like so. You know, you got to use your extra hand to ease that around. But just be mindful of that. Okay, we are simply marrying the bottom skirt to our bodice jacket. And that is going to be it. She's already hemmed up and everything. So let's put these two pieces together and we will be done. What time is it now? It is 5:57 in the PM. 5:57. So about 3 hours or so. Something like that. About 3 hours. Because I did take a little break in the middle of it all to get me something to eat. And now I'm back on it. Okay, so let's start from this end. Make sure our edges are lined up. Let's go. Okay. I knocked those pins over once, so I got to be a little careful with those. I'm going to take my magnet and go along the floor and make sure I got them all up. Okay, now let's get started marrying the top and the bottom skirt together. Of course, we're going to back stitch on this. Let's go. Now you're going to fit this in there. So you want to take your time and not go too fast with it, because again, we want pretty seams and stitches, and we want it to all match up perfectly. Pull this a little bit. There we go. We want it to all match up perfectly, so let's get her together. This is my outfit of the night. This is the jacket, on how the jacket looks on. I'm going to turn around so you guys can see the back. Shake it up.